San Francisco Zoo, and we're going to get a behind-the-scenes look at what it takes to do conservation work and be a keeper here at the San Francisco Zoo. Today we are here with Jessie Brussell at the San Francisco Zoo, and can you tell us what you do here at the San Francisco Zoo?
Sure, yes. Well, I am the Director of Conservation here at San Francisco Zoo, and I oversee all of our on-grounds conservation projects, our international conservation projects, our local outreach, community outreach for conservation. So we have a couple of local projects that we're working on head starting with western pond turtles and Sierra Nevada yellow-legged frogs, and that takes up the bulk of my time right now because those are just exploding right now. We've got lots of babies, and so we're trying to work on those guys, and then in the other few hours of the day I get to do the other stuff.
So can you tell us more about the yellow-legged frogs and what you're doing with them?
Sure. It started off with us sort of just becoming a repository for these frogs that had been collected from the wild for a research project, specifically on chytrid, which is a fungal infection that's facing amphibians around the world and really, unfortunately, killing off species on a daily basis or annual basis. And so these frogs were collected, these Sierra Nevada frogs were collected years ago for research to figure out why and how the disease is affecting them. But they survived, and they were just these individuals that were at these labs, but their wild populations were extinct. So they were the last animals from these populations. And these researchers were really protective of them. They didn't want them to die. They didn't want them to go extinct completely because they have the last genetic material from the last genetic representatives from these populations. And so through friends, we kind of got in this conversation, and we decided to kind of take them in here, house them, with the idea that someday we'd be able to breed them and release their offspring back into the wild and repopulate those lakes that are now, don't have any frogs in them. With all these collaborative partners, this project started where we're collecting egg masses and raising up these tadpoles into young adults or later juveniles, and then also bringing in juveniles from the wild and head starting them, giving them a chance to survive. And then the researchers and the Fish and Wildlife and other departmental agencies are then translocating adults into those same lakes. And so there's all these different life stages, and the researchers are going to monitor and see how successful each life stage is at surviving long term.
We do the water testing to make sure that all the levels of ammonia, nitrate, and nitrite are pretty steady. Especially with the tadpoles, they tend to be really sensitive if there's any spike in pretty much any of these. And the frogs, they're less sensitive about it, and they also seem to produce less of it in general, which is interesting. But the tadpoles will go through cycles. We'll have super high nitrates, or we'll have some ammonia. We have to keep doing water changes. So there's none of those chemicals in the water, and so then we can, then they aren't sensitive to it. And for the pH, we have 3 drops. And then the pH is something that we can monitor right away, while the other ones we have to wait 5 minutes. So we just shake it up. And that's not a normal color for pH, which probably means I have to retest it. But these are the colors that pH is found in. And then this one is again about at 8.2.
So are you in school?
I am. I actually go to San Francisco State. And I work in the research lab, actually, where these frogs are being, where the researchers are, and the grad students. So it's cool to take care of them and then see the research side of it also.
That's really cool. Yeah. What do you want to do after you graduate?
I plan to go to graduate school. I'm not sure where yet, but I want to work in wildlife conservation, so this is pretty perfect for that.
So we test their ammonia levels, nitrite and nitrate levels, so it's like the whole nitrogen cycle basically, because if any of those are high, especially with the tadpoles, they are really sensitive to that, and they could just all die, like have a massive die out. So we want to make sure that we keep all of those levels really low. Like if there's any nitrites at all, it's like really, really bad, but that doesn't happen very often. Mostly what we get is like pretty high nitrate levels in here, and so we change the water whenever that happens. For whatever reason, I think that the tadpoles, it seems like they produce a lot more ammonia, and they always have a lot higher levels of the ammonia and nitrates. So we need to be changing those more often and checking those every single day to make sure that they're not too high. And then with the frogs, they have a good filtration system. They have a whole bacterial colony set up, so those kind of are breaking down the nitrates and stuff like that. Here we've got actually like every single stage of the frogs, because we have the tadpoles, we have some of the tadpoles with their legs, and then some tadpoles with the legs and the arms, and they're reabsorbing the tails, and then we have the metamorphs over there that are all these different stages of like tail absorption, and then we've got this guy. So this is like a pretty cool room because we've got all these different stages of the frog. So you can see like in one spot all of these different stages of the yellow-legged frog. What I want to do is I want to go on and get my PhD and become like a professor at a university. That's kind of my dream. And so right now I'm applying to graduate school, and this is kind of like the perfect job for me because I get to be part of a really important conservation effort, which is something that I find is really valuable. Especially because, like, in my classes, I took classes on conservation biology, and one of the things that we talked about in my biology classes is the yellow-legged frogs. And I have a friend at the Forest Service who's like, can you get me some of them frogs? I really want some, because he is a wildlife biologist up in the Sierra Nevadas, and that's where these frogs are from.
Right.
And so it's kind of like, it feels like a practical application of a lot of the stuff that I learned in school. So it's really cool, and also because I'm an intern, this job affords me the time to be able to still be making money and still be getting experience, but also able to apply to graduate school. So I'm totally passionate about wildlife, and I just want to do this for the rest of my life.
And teach at the same time, which is really good.
Because I think that, like, it's equally as important to, like, because I really want to be a part of the primary literature, like the research that we're doing in science, but I think it's equally as important to get other people invested in it, especially, like, I'm just, like, all about, like, women in science and people of color in science. Like, I really just want to be, like, a motivator and a role model for people, and because that would just be, like, a total life fulfillment for me. So, ideally, I would want to work at a university where I can teach just as much as I'm doing research.
I've seen a lot of my kids, I guess you could call them, that have gone on and followed their dreams, and I think the key thing that I've seen with the ones that have really had a passion is that you gotta just go for it. You know, whether you want to work internationally or you want to go to vet school, you just gotta keep on going and let people tell you can't do it. And it's, you know, getting experience, volunteering is really essential because you've got to just get your foot in the door, and you just got to keep on pushing and saying, I can do this, I want to do more. I mean, it's phenomenal. I have probably a dozen or more of the girls that have worked with me who've gone on to become vets or are in vet school. There are numbers and numbers of them that become teachers or have gone into science. I mean, I have so many people that I keep in contact with that have done really amazing stuff. I'm actually jealous. I'm like, I want to do that. You know, like I have one former volunteer who, you know, is a wildlife biologist and is working out on Catalina Island studying foxes and eagles and just does all this fun stuff. Others that have traveled around the world doing birding and just these great, great stories. And I think, you know, sometimes you just need somebody to help you go to the right place and ask the right questions. But I definitely say, you know, getting an education, finishing high school, going to college if you can, getting as much experience as you can, making contacts, and, you know, that's really the most important thing.
We've had a wonderful time here at the San Francisco Zoo. We've learned some amazing things, and if you want to know more, make sure you check them out at sfzoo.org. And now you're in the know.